Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to speak in this important debate, and I would like to start, as I'm sure every member would here, by paying tribute to the police officers and staff from Bedfordshire Police. Everyone who serves as an officer or a member of staff or a police force, they do so in a noble profession. They keep us safe, they look after the most vulnerable, and we cannot thank them enough for what they do. Now, in Bedfordshire, looking at the settlement, we now have 1,369 officers. That is 135 more than we had back in 2010. And we have a budget which has gone up to 136.1 million. That's an increase of 5.4%. So I think it would be remiss of me not to say thank you for those increases. Gratitude is sometimes somewhat slow to come off the lips of politicians, but occasionally it is due, and where it is due, I pay it gladly. But the Minister knows well that Bedfordshire Police finances have only been sustained in recent years through a series of special grants. Last year, he was kind enough to give us two of 3.6 million each, so a total of 7.2 million. And it was only because we had those two special grants, which we've had for a number of years now, that we have been able to balance the books. And I'm sure the Minister will agree with me that that is not a sustainable basis on which to go forward. So he will not be surprised to hear me raise again the issue of the funding formula. This goes back in Bedfordshire case back to 2004 and the introduction of damping, which has taken about £3 million a year, the equivalent of about 95 officers on our streets, off our budgets. And we are, with the increases, starting to make good on some of that, but it is not sustainable to leave Bedfordshire Police finances where they are with the current funding formula. And it's not just about increases of budgets, because we have to look at what those budgets are asked to do. And the Minister will know that we have a high number of organised criminal gangs in Bedfordshire. He will also know that we have a high number of county lines in the county. And he will know from time to time we actually need hundreds of officers to police, for example, traveller funerals. If we look at the Operation Venetic packages, Bedfordshire had 26. Hertfordshire, a much larger county, had only 11, and Cambridgeshire, bless them, didn't have any. So I think that does illustrate the extent of the demand within Bedfordshire, whose budget has been adversely affected by the introduction of damping from 2004. And it's not just the total numbers, it's where those officers are based. The largest town in my constituency is Leighton Buzzard. In 1988, it had a police station with an inspector, 6 sergeants and 27 constables. That's 34 warranted officers in the town. Now we have a shared emergency services hub. We don't, unfortunately, have a 24/7 first responder presence, which we used to have. And, it takes time for officers to travel to where the crime is. They don't have magic carpets. They don't have TARDISes to get from A to B. And, if they're travelling from Luton or wherever, that takes time. And actually, it's often low-paid staff in our pubs and clubs that have to deal with the first 5 or 10 minutes of the fight. And, that's not the role of bartenders and people working in hospitality. So where those officers are matters, and sorting out the funding formula will enable us to deal with that issue. Now, I'm encouraged. I will, certainly.
Can I ask the honourable gentleman if he is concerned that the closure of some police stations might make it quite a long journey to take somebody from an incident, to take them to the police station for the processing? It would take too much time out of a shift, and that we are perhaps getting to a point where there aren't as many arrests as we would expect for the types of crimes that our constituents are seeing on the streets and would like to have tackled. I wondered if he might share my concern that the closure of police stations is actually not allowing us to deal with that antisocial behaviour on our streets.
Well, I'm very grateful to the Honourable Lady, and she is, of course, right that time taking offenders to custody suites is time when those officers cannot be on the streets doing their job. You can, however, only spend the same pound twice. What I would like to see is a 24/7 first responder response. There are ways we could do that. We have a large public estate, and sometimes I think we need to be a little bit more imaginative in how and where we base our police officers, because the primary focus is to have officers on the beat in our large centres of population 24/7. So just to come back as I conclude on the police funding formula review, I have been asking every police minister about this since I was first elected in 2001. And I was very pleased to have confirmation from the Prime Minister recently that we are moving forward, we are going to deliver on this, and also in a letter from the Minister himself in which he said that the consultation on the police funding formula review will take place this summer 2022, in writing, in an official letter from the Home Office. Very, very pleased to read that indeed. That sounds to me as if the train has left the station. It is about being fair to Bedfordshire and those other forces which have left out, and I look forward very much to the swift implementation. The Minister talked about an effective transition arrangements for that review. I want it to be effective, but I don't want it to take too long, and I hope he will bear that in mind. I will give way very quickly, yes.
Yeah, I'm very grateful. I mean, it's welcome news. It'll be interesting when the train actually arrives, if it's left the station. But would he also agree with me that part of that review has got to be a fundamental question asked about what the split should be between central government funding and what is raised locally?
Yeah, I mean, the honourable gentleman is right in that no one likes paying council tax. I've often called it the most unpopular tax in the UK. The primary focus for us in Bedfordshire is to have a well-funded force, to have enough officers and to have them in the right places. And our greatest issue is the resolution of the funding formula issue. This government has committed to that, done so very publicly. We have the consultation this summer. It needs to deliver and deliver quickly.